Good morning, guys. So today we are going to talk about communication and its role in society. Okay, so in this session, basically what we are trying to do is focus on multiple factors that is responsible for uh, tracing the role of communication in society. Okay, let's begin. First is evolution matrix. I want to talk a bit about evolution matrix because it is essential to understand how man moved from prehistoric times when man was a food gatherer or a food hunter to the phase of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, so on and so forth. If we look at the whole spectrum of evolution matrix, we call it a evolution matrix because we have evolved over a period of time. It's not that we are in the stage where we were to this phase where we have reached now. If we would look at the human civilization or the human society that has evolved over a period of time, we are called social beings, and largely that is the reason why we landed up with what we understand as a civil society. Okay, what the civil society does largely is it creates a paraphernalia, it creates a space or a process where human beings can interact with each other. If you remember in the last session, I said that communication, the very fabric of communication, is dependent on how we share. Okay, so sharing becomes very important or a crucial um, idea or a crucial aspect of human survival. So, civil society's role uh, in spreading communication is extremely important. Okay, how it does so, how the civil society um, kind of helps in creating a communication network. Let's see. Okay, there is information out there. Right from the beginning, human beings started relying on information that they kind of experienced, information that they gathered or witnessed, or information that they could possibly assimilate or understand. Okay, so what did they do with that information, and how that information plays a very significant role in developing communication in the society. Information, as we basically understand, is a set of ideas that could be transferred from one person to another or to a larger section of the society. Information led to what we understand as storytelling. Now, why is it crucial that storytelling be placed in when we discuss about the role of communication in society? Why do we tell each other stories? Why are stories so crucial? Okay, so what stories does largely to us is it helps us survive. There are stories of survival, there are stories of triumph, there are stories of greed. All the kind of emotions that we go through, each of them are kind of impressed upon, or all these kind of emotions are expressed through stories. So human beings started telling stories right from prehistoric times, through cave paintings, through visual impressions, through their understanding of the world, and it has been passed on over a period of time from generation to generation. If you look at the folk culture stories that you read as children in different kind of children books, or the stories that your grandparents or your parents told as bedtime tales, to the stories that we are telling through cinema, through music, through different pieces of art, all of it put together somewhere contribute to the whole process of communication in society. The urgency or the need why we tell stories is primarily to help us survive. We, as a social being, human beings as social being, wouldn't have survived for this long, for this many number of years, if not for the stories, if not for the stories that we had told, or our forefathers or the parents have told to themselves, or to each other, or to the people in the very vicinity of where they survived and sustained. And why it is crucial? Because it helps us put information in a way that other person can assimilate. Okay, you would have come across these two different set of um, ideas. Was like, okay, there is fiction and there is non-fiction. We believe that fiction are stories which are non-realistic in nature, fiction that are full of character, which is plot, themes, motifs, and what they do is it keeps the conversation engaging. And then there is non-fiction, where we deal with the harsh realities of the world. In both the cases, understand that the crux of this matter is the very information that is presented to the other person through different mediums, right? So what it does is it helps us in an active interaction with the society. Storytelling information helps us to to stay sustainable, to help us have some sort of a conversation or engagement with the society. As society evolves, the forms and the mediums to which storytelling is possible is taken to the next level. How do we actively engage with the society and why it is crucial? Okay. Um, Storytelling, to sum it up, storytelling helps us in having an active engagement with the society or interaction with society, and there are necessities for this. There are reasons why we try to tell each other stories, and largely the conversation that we have with the society, or what I say here as an active interaction with society, is dependent on primarily three factors. Okay, there is a physical need, there is a biological need, and there is a social need. When we talk about physical need, or sort of a physical need or physical urgency to interact with the society or engage with the society, what I'm referring to is primarily that you evolve from a child to adulthood to manhood, and so on and so forth. And then in that entire process of your growing up, you need to physically engage with one another. We all physically engage with one another, and the very fact that you need to survive, inside a society, um, you need to mobilize your thoughts and ideas and try to transpire them, try to take it forward through different kind of physical acts. For the fact that with the evolution of will, you know, over a period of time, it led to industrial evolution. Who would have thought that the cars that we're using, or the cycles, or the motorcycles that we are riding at this point in time, that helps us move from one place to another, is the very thought behind how a wheel moves physically. Um, what else happen when we talk about physical interaction in the society and how communication has a role to play? The very fact that there is a need to do something physical. Okay, unless you move, things don't move, right? So everything that you do, right from taking a small walk, or maybe taking a small walk, or learning how to walk or run for that matter, to the marathons that we run, all these things are physical in nature, and there is a reason why we do so. Okay, otherwise we would have been bedridden, otherwise there wouldn't have been any necessity at the first place that we move from one place to another. So the very reason why we focus keenly on the physical aspect or the physical interaction part is it helps the society come together as a community. So the sharing, as we understand at this point in time, which has become increasingly digital, like I am interacting with you, and this is in a digital space, not in a physical space, but still I have to put this setup, and I'm physically standing in front of you and talking, because there is a necessity to engage or converse with people from day to day basis. Okay, that is the reason why community gathering happens. That is the reason why weddings happen. That is the reason why there are sports areas, there are libraries, there are cinema theaters, there are art galleries where people can come together physically and interact or engage the society, and that would lead to different kind of healthy conversations. It would lead to the larger possibilities of a society opening up, or a society developing, or engaging with each other. Second is the biological necessity of communication in this entire spectrum of engaging or interacting with the society. The reason why we procreate is not because it is just a biological need to procreate or to help the society evolve. Um, Large part of it, if you would see, is also connected very significantly to the need to communicate. No man is an island. There is a reason why it is said. And if you there is no biological need to interact or engage with the society, we would have stopped in the prehistoric times. We would have stopped where we started off, right at the beginning. Okay, the fact that we interact actively with nature, the fact that we actively engage with the rest of the people in the society, the rest of the people, where do they come from? You have to understand. They have come from a biological assessment of the society. The fact that in the evolution matrix we have reached this stage is possible because there are more and more human beings. There is a flip side to it that leads to population explosion, and so on and so forth. But the fact remains that uh, the biological interaction with the society is active as we speak, and the whole act of procreation leads to you know different phases of framing a society, or creating a framework for the society, which eventually leads to communication. The fact that there is a necessity and we need to communicate with another person uh, would lead to the biological aspect of it. Okay, so the last thing in this segment is the social one. Okay, this is not a very difficult thing to understand, that the very evolution of society is based on our idea of how we look at the social aspect of human life. Like I told you, there are art galleries that are created, there are cinema theaters, there are gyms, there are swimming pools, and all these places are places of public discourse or public engagement. Now, when we say things are public, we are referring largely to the social need or the active social interaction. Active social interaction is significantly connected to communication. If we cannot communicate with each other, then our very idea to survive in the society will diminish. Otherwise, we would have been all isolated individually in different parts of the world. The very fact that we are interconnected, we start a family, we go to schools and colleges, and we make friends, we meet each other on regular basis. There are restaurants, there are parks, so on and so forth. All those areas or all these spaces, what we understand as public spaces, are created by an establishment or by a structure, primarily because there is a social urgency or there is a social need to engage. And the very idea that is there inside me, I would be able to communicate with another person, I need another person, like I said. So that's how crucial the social aspect of communication becomes. So communication has a major role to play in the society because of these primary three areas, because there is a physical need, there is a biological necessity, and there is a social angle or a social aspect to it. And that part is extremely crucial to understand. Understand the reason why we are on this earth briefly, and what sort of role we play going forward, what role you have played so far, and what are the roles you would play to create a healthy, vibrant civil society. And in the possibility of doing so, you know it is crucial that we pay attention and we be aware of all our roles and responsibilities and our rights and opportunities, which would help us in creating or understanding the reasons why communication plays a significant role. Always go back to the point of reasoning, always go back to the point of understanding the logic or the reason behind why communication plays a very significant role. Okay, so what else is the role of communication in society? Let's look at the other points. Um, if you look at what are the other essential roles, one would be, what I would say, is the transferring of ideas and feelings. We all have ideas, we all have feelings. As human beings, we are always surrounded by different kind of emotions. we are surrounded by different kind of thoughts and ideas, and it is crucial that we do not restrict it to ourselves. Imagine if all the luxuries that we have at this point in time, whether it is you know artificial intelligence driven Siri or Alexa, or the very basic fact that there is light and there is sound in different forms that we use as different kind of lighting, or we listen to music, and try and understand how did music reach the stage where it is. There are different kind of musics that you come across at this point in time, and you listen to, I'm sure we consume that on a daily basis, different kind of lighting. If somebody would not have given a thought about how sound waves can travel, or how to understand the scientific aspect to light, or what role light can play right from the beginning of discovering fire, to this point of using LED lights, there's been quite a significant transformation, as we might understand. So if that person, if that one person, all the inventions and discoveries that has happened, the people who are responsible behind them, if they would have restricted their ideas to themselves, we wouldn't have been consuming or enjoying the benefits of their thoughts and ideas. So the very fact that they experimented, the very fact that they tried to interact or engage with the society in their own ways through scientific experiments and discoveries, and all the scientific experiments and discoveries that are happening right now at this point in time is possible primarily because somebody gave it a thought that we as individuals, we have different ideas and we need to transfer it to other people. Another area to understand, another example to understand this whole thing of how transferring of ideas and feelings are crucial, and how it helps us understand our own world, our own immediate environment, and the environment that gets expanded slowly, is films, or stories, right? You see a film, you laugh and cry, and if you go through different kind of emotions. Understand, the film is primarily based on a story, right? Okay, it's somebody's story. It might not be our story, but it resonates. There are different kind of feelings that resonates with us. The very fact that the cinematic medium offers us, a plethora of ideas, is somebody's idea. The very fact, right from the first film that was made to this point where we are seeing, different kind of films, and we consume them quite a bit. It has been possible because somebody thought that these kind of human ideas or human feelings need to be put out there. Okay, we get mesmerized by different kind of stories. We get mesmerized by different kind of characters and different kind of settings. It could be a visual treat. It could be something that where it resonates the very idea that you could be in that position, and trying to understand different kind of human feelings. Okay. What else it does is it helps us in creating a sense of make believe. Okay, most of the times we are struggling on a daily basis. We tend to be in a state where for our very existence we struggle. Okay, right from the beginning, from the day you're born to the time you die, most of the times we tend to struggle with our basic existence or everyday existence. So what happens in the process is, if not for the stories, if not for cinema, if not for the music, if not for the art that somebody has created for us, the make-believe world that I'm talking about, or the suspension of the reality, of our everyday reality, which almost consumes us as much we think that we consume everything that is around us, we also get consumed in the process. Okay, wouldn't have been possible. So because somebody decides, or a bunch of filmmakers, or bunch of storytellers, or bunch of artists decide to take their ideas or feelings out, and what do? They try to simulate their ideas or feelings through you, me, all of us in the society. The very fact that we have dialogues, uh, with each other, we have dialogues about the art pieces, about the scientific discoveries. They are possible, and it helps us understand, make a sense of understanding um, around the society, which is comprehensible in nature. Okay, what else it does is it helps us tremendously. Communication helps us tremendously in educating ourselves. Okay, it could be formal education, it could be traditional knowledge that has been passed on over a period of time, which most of the times we discard or we do not pay attention to. Okay, look at all the stories that your grandmother told, and not all of them are fictional, right? If you keenly observe around you, if you have grandparents, so on and so forth, if you would see that the knowledge system that they have traditionally passed on, it would be what fruits to eat in which season, or which vegetables are conducive to eat without creating any kind of digestive disorders inside our bodies. This is not a rocket science. They have figured it out over a period of time, and this has been passed on from generations to generation, and that is how traditional knowledge has survived over a period of time. What is it? It is education in one way or the other. Education helps us A, make meaning of the world, B, helps us survive and sustain in a better way, helps us in becoming a better human being or individual, apart from the very aspect that it helps us survive, choosing a career or making money, so on and so forth. Now, how do we educate ourselves? There are several ways in which we educate ourselves. One being through the formal structure of education or formal system of education, where you attend school, colleges, universities, before you land up in a job. All these things have been possible because some ideas or the other has been communicated to you. Understand why a particular topic is there in your science book in class 6th or 5th, or why you're doing this particular sum, a mathematical sum, or why you're reading Shakespeare or Shelley, or studying communication in the colleges and universities. Because education helps you in building structures and ideas inside your mind. Okay, it helps you engage in a better way. The very fact that books exist, physical, Kindle, whatever, is because there is a need or a necessity that communication could be, camouflaged or could be metamorphosed into these structural ideas. And these structural ideas are key to our connect to the world. Okay, through a book you meet characters, through a cinema you meet characters, through a book you come across different existential realities of the world. What we might be experiencing right now at our own homes because of the lockdown would not be the same as against a frontline worker who is relentlessly working in helping the society deal with the pandemic through their own ways. They could be sanitary workers, they could be doctors, they could be our delivery guys who make sure that a certain product reaches us conveniently, or the doctors who are working relentlessly on day-to-day basis dealing with the patients, right? So all these things are possible because of education and the role communication plays in the society through educational affairs. The very fact that we are evolved over a period of time, the more we read, the more we expose ourselves to different parts of the society, or different areas or different aspects, helps us build understanding, help us build theories around things. What are they? They are structures. They are made up of words and ideas and feelings of people. And that transfer, that knowledge transfer that I'm talking about, helps us in understanding why education matters. The very fact that you know, and then you are being able to communicate the same thing clearly and concisely to the other person is through communication. So education plays a very significant role in helping us communicate across. Then the next factor is entertainment. Life would have been otherwise boring, right? So because there are different ways in which we need to keep ourselves engaged. Not all the time it has to be serious, not all the time it has to be um, about the existential crisis that we all suffer from day to day basis. So human beings, in order to stay engaged, human beings, in order to interact with each other in the society, decided would have decided to entertain themselves in one way or the other. Thus came music, thus came street art, thus came cinema, thus came music, so on and so forth. The very fact that it helps us uh, not just communicate uh, our ideas and feelings with the world, it also helps us in surviving. Um, Try and keep yourself away for a long period of time from all entertainment aspects of areas. You would still uh, have two things. You will still have the urge to entertain yourself, and B, you'd understand how this entertainment network has been cut away from your life, and thus life has become boring. We have become almost slaves to different kind of entertainment world. We binge watch Netflix shows, um, we watch films uh, for hours together, or we try to look at a meme through social media, or we look at prime time news content, which has become hilarious, least to say. So all these forms of entertainment, the very fact that it is mimetic in nature, the very fact that there are memes which help us um, you know put our ideas together in a more sarcastic way, or it reflects upon what is happening around the world. It's a political comment. What do they do? The very fact that you spend hours and hours on social media, or spend time watching TV or listening to music, all these things are possible because um, communication along with entertainment helps you in telling these stories. Okay, so entertainment and education, through the idea of transferring um, feelings and emotions, help us to understand the world. Okay, to understand what is happening across the world. This part is very crucial. The understanding. Okay, it's directly connected to what role communication is going to play in the society, or the immediate environment that you are in. Okay, pay attention to this. There are three areas that I am primarily focusing on. That why it is important to communicate with the society and start making some sort of an understanding of the world. We constantly negotiate with the world. We constantly negotiate with the immediate environment or surroundings that we live in. Okay, and these are our own natural organic instincts through which these things are possible. Now, the reason why it is important to communicate, and why education and entertainment plays a very significant role in making sense of the world. Okay, there is a social logic to it, there is an economic logic to it, and there is a cultural logic to it. Okay, so social logic is when the society comes together. The society comes together, and you, as as an outsider, try to look at the society. You could be a part of that society and start making sense of the world, and you could withdraw yourself and try to objectively see how the society is reacting or responding to it. So there is a social logic to it. The very fact that you want to connect to other people kind of defines the social logic. That because we have been raised as social beings, we went to schools, we saw people, teachers, staff, our fellow students or our classmates, we made friends over there, to colleges, universities, and then workplace, at your home. We are all social in that way, right? Then there is an economic logic to it. If we stop making sense of the world, the economy will collapse. All the economic depressions and the crisis that has happened over a period of time, understand how it is linked to human behavioral aspects, how it is linked to human behavioral patterns. Unless we start actively engaging with the society or communicating with the ideas, and if we do not put community in front of us, we do not put community in front of individuals, we don't pay attention to communities as against individual need, because individual needs are tremendous. It can go on and it never stops. It's like a huge loaf of human greed. So unless we do that, unless we understand why the world needs us to have a communitarian attitude and approach, keeping the society ahead of individuals, economic logic will take over. Economic logic will take over in its own way, and then that's how economy might collapse. Okay, the very fact that there is some kind of economic transactions happening between communities or individuals. Just to give you an example, the very fact that right now there is a crisis that we are facing in terms of getting technological access. What I mean to say is getting access to gadgets. There are not too many laptops or smartphones out there in the market. Most of them have gone out of stock on online stores. Physical stores are closed, shut down because of the COVID situation. Um, and remember, especially I'm talking about this phase of India. India used to procure a lot of technology from China, and because the um, uh, ongoing situation with China, because of the war or war-like situations, we don't get access to this. So it leads to a bad economic phase. So there is always a reason why a society progresses in certain way. Okay, we can call it a capitalist society, we can call it a socialist society, whatever it is. Understand there is some amount of monetary transactions. There is some transactions of paying uh, against the good that you consume or you procure, and it is how we start to make um, sense of the world. The fact that somebody hoards a lot and somebody lives a very minimalistic life is reflective of the very nature how economy in that person's life works, or how that person started from. We hear stories about rags to riches, and this is possible because we somewhere focus on this aspect of having everything or giving away everything, right? Living a simple minimalistic life. Okay, third one is the cultural part. Okay, the cultures that has evolved over a period of time, and it has been possible because we have started using communication as a tool or an aspect to make sense of the world. It could be any aspect. I've spoken about it increasingly through art galleries, through cinema, through music, through folk culture, through all of this. The very fact that it creates the foundation of the society, it helps us survive or sustain in a space which brings in diversity in nature. Otherwise, if everybody would be speaking the same language, everybody would be wearing the same clothes, everybody would be having the same food, everybody would be listening to the same kind of music, evolution wouldn't have been possible. Okay, humankind would have come to a standstill at that point in time. So the very fact that in order to make sense of the world, we require culture. We require cultures to grow and evolve. Right now, for example, we are in a phase where we are all in lockdown, and we are trying to create different kind of content on an everyday basis, or trying to survive or sustain through, or we are consuming content of others. This is a culture. This is a cultural phenomena that we are all inside our houses. So what best we can do in order to keep ourselves engaged? Because there is most of the times, because of the COVID situation, we are not outbound in nature. Okay, it's a in overwhelming time for all of us to look inward, to make sense of the four worlds that we live in. We engage with our books, we engage with our cinema, with our music, with cooking, with gardening, whatever you can possibly do. Understand that this sort of culture, this sort of a situation is also reflective of the culture we are in. The very essential need to connect with ourselves. I see a lot of people engaging extensively on social media. That is because physically we can't connect because of the situation. So people are, having webinars, people are having seminars. There are different kind of talks that are arranged. And what is it? It's a cultural phenomena, right? We understand that we are consuming because culture exists. We are consuming because culture has evolved over a period of time, and it has given us uh, a sense of a very deep sense of understanding how society has evolved or how society is evolving. It's a work in progress still. Okay. The last point that I want to focus upon before I close is the concept of global village. Okay, so Marshall McLuhan, a communication theorist in the 1960s, came up with this concept called the global village. He predicted, because of the evolution of technology, that human society increasingly over a period of time would help collapse physical boundaries of the world. So what he basically meant at that point in time is how primarily information network chain is going to take over, and humans are going to engage and interact with each other in the virtual space, which is what is happening at this point in time, something that was predicted 50 years back, or sorry, 60 years back. So what has happened and why it is important to bring in this point is the role communication plays in creating this global village. What does the concept mean if you break this word down to understand there is global and there is village? Okay, he's referring to village as a community space, and global would refer to something related to a boundless physical geography. So when we mix these two things up, we would get an idea that how this physical community has expanded, or rather transformed into a virtual space. The very fact that earlier people would take months to travel from one place to another physically, now you can fly down, possibly in 2 days, to reach other part of the world, and all our near and dear ones, our friends and families, or whosoever you want to engage or interact with, is just a phone call away. You can just put a call and on WhatsApp and talk to other people, or you can email, or I am liking somebody's image on Instagram, which is 20,000 miles away from us. Just by one click or just by one message, that person gets to know what I want to say or convey about that work. So because of technology, because of communication, this thing is possible. So what has happened is it has led to something called the globalization of society. So I have put local inside double inverted comma for a reason. Okay, this is basically two words coming together: global and local, becoming local. So globalization of the society. That's how the coin is. It has become globalized. Our society has become globalized. What is truly local is essentially global, because this brings in faith, and this brings in diversity of stories. This brings in diversity in communication. That things that we have not experienced, we want to experience those things. Things that we have never consumed, we would like to, because humans are curious and exploratory by nature, and that is what has led us from the prehistoric times to the artificial intelligence phase that we are talking about. So globalization of society is something that has happened largely because of information flow and because of communication networks being built. Okay, so people increasingly coming together in the virtual space to do different kind of things. So the virtual space has become the market, the virtual place has become the society, the virtual space has expanded its community, and it is bringing in diversity, it is bringing in different kind of liberation for all of us. Okay, so that's how I would wind this session up about role of communication in society. Hope the session has been useful, and then I'll see you in the next session. Thank you for your time.